Good morning. My name is Casey Brady, Voting Systems Analyst for the Department of State. Joining me is Sindhu Ramachandran, the Chief of the Division of Election Security and Technology for the Bureau of Elections, and Brandon McCullough, Elections Analyst for the Bureau of Elections. Today is Monday, June 23rd, 2025, and the current time is 10 o'clock a.m. On behalf of the Secretary of the Commonwealth, I would like to welcome all of you to the examination of Election Systems and Software EVS 6.5.0.0 electronic voting system, and take this opportunity to explain the guidelines that we'll be following. First, it should be noted that the Secretary of the Commonwealth is holding this examination pursuant to the provisions of Section 1105A, parenthesis A, of the Pennsylvania Election Code 25 PS character 3031.5A. Second, the examinations of voting systems are not subject to the requirements of the Sunshine Act. Nevertheless, the department has determined that it is appropriate to invite the public to observe portions of the examinations. Third, this examination will be conducted pursuant to the Pennsylvania Election Code. The department has entered into a contract with ProV&V to perform the examination. Stephen Hahn of ProV&V Incorporated will lead the examination for ProV&V. Following receipt of ProV&V's findings, the Secretary will issue a report that shall be filed with the Bureau of Elections. Fourth, the public demonstration portion of the examination will be memorialized on video, which shall be the official record of the proceedings. Because the video will constitute the record, it is essential that the camera always be accorded the best view of the screen. This may make it difficult for members of the public to clearly see what is occurring at that time. Your presence is welcomed here primarily as an opportunity to observe the nature of the process as a whole. Copies of the public demonstration video recording will be available for public viewing. We do not permit anyone else to record the examination proceedings. Fifth, we will not permit spoken questions or comments from our guests. After the public demonstration, we will be moving on to test cases that the examiner will execute to confirm that the system meets the election code requirements. The public can stay as observers for that part of the examination. There may be occasions where proprietary information must be shared by the vendor with the department and the examiner. If that occurs, all members of the public will be excused from the room. After the proprietary information is shared, everyone will be invited to return to the room. In order to capture an adequate record of the proceedings, it is imperative that all members of the public follow these guidelines. Persons failing to conform to these conditions will be asked to leave the room. Please turn all cell phones to silent during this examination. Thank you for your cooperation. I'll turn it over to, we'll move on to the public demonstration from the vendor. I'll turn it over to Ben Schwartz from ES&S.
Good morning. My name is Ben Schwartz. I'm with Election Systems and Software. As Casey mentioned, we're here with the EVS 6500 release. Off to the left here is the central or the county setup. Right here we have the Electionware suite, DS950, DS850, and then DS450. Electionware suite is where you define your election. So that's where you're going to lay out your ballot, insert your candidate contests, etc. And then burn a USB that would go to each of the equipment. And then at the end of the night, you'd bring those USBs back for results accumulation. This is the DS950. It's our central tabulator. This is where all your mail-in ballots would be scanned. These are all three central scanners. They operate the same way. They have the same features. They have the same menu structures. And then the hardware is also going to be the same. The 950 is just our newer model. It replaces the 850, which is the middle one. And then the 450, it's just a little bit, it's designed for the smaller jurisdictions, those that scan about 10,000 ballots. The 950 is going to be your workhorse. Those are designed for anybody who's, scanning about 100,000 ballots for an election. Input tray, and then we have an S-curve here. The S-curve is designed for the sorting mechanism. We have 3 dedicated bins. The top bin is generally reserved for your overvotes, undervotes, blanks, any type of sorting that you'd want to do. The middle is reserved for write-ins, and then the bottom would be for anything other than those conditions. The S-curve is important because it gives enough time, you'll see it here in a second with the high-speed scanner, it gives it enough time to sort it into one of those 3 bins. Off to the left here we have a dedicated report printer, and then a dedicated backup UPS is there in the middle. The backup UPS provides a roughly about 4.5 hours of backup power. However, the 850 or the central scans are designed to stop operation once power is lost, but that UPS will give you enough time to actually export results, print a report, those types of activities, but it will not let you continue scanning until power is restored. So to scan, this can process about 320 to 360 ballots per minute. Decks, you have to remember some of these are going to be folded. So generally speaking, we start about the 150 range and then work our way up to larger deck size. So once the batch is done scanning, you hit save. This is just temporary storage. So if you wanted to clear out those results, you could, and then rescan them. Once we hit save, go back to the scanning. This is what actually is, the results are committed to memory. Those are written to the hard drive. All your ballot images, your cast vote records, etc., are then written to the hard drive. At the end of the night then, they would export the results by USB and then take it back over to the electionware. The S850, exactly the same. Again, it's just our older model. To scan ballots, you hit start. And then last but not least, the 450. And then at the end of the night, you export it to a USB again, and then you would take it over to electionware, and that's where your results accumulation would occur for the election. So this is your county setup. Over here to the right then is what you would see in the precinct. We have the ExpressVote 3. It's our new model of ExpressVote. This is the ExpressVote 2.1 hardware. DS200, this is a tabulator. DS300 is our precinct scanner and tabulator. And then we have an XL. XL will mark your card as well as tabulate. So when a voter comes into a polling location, they're going to get one of three things. They'll get a full face or an ExpressVote card, activation card. The difference with the activation card is we have the ability, if you hook it up to our poll book, to print out this barcode. The barcode is just a ballot style selection. It helps with if you have multiple precincts within a polling location, just to print those out. But either way, it will activate a vote session. Generally speaking, this is used for ADA. It does not necessarily need to be an ADA voter. It could be anybody that comes to the polling location. But we do have ADA components. The rocker paddle, the headphones, as well as a keypad. They could also bring in their own sip and puff, any type of ADA device that they want to use. To start a vote session on the ExpressVote, insert your card. This is thermal paper, so it does just print on the one side. It does not print on the back. At that point, the voter is presented their language selection. This election that we're using today has English, Spanish, and then Chinese. Voter instructions. And then they would proceed to make their selections. The express vote does not overvote. You cannot vote on the express, or you cannot overvote on the express vote. Too many selections. You have already made the maximum number of selections allowed for this contest. To make a new selection, first deselect one of your current choices. To return to voting, touch Return to Ballot. We'll return to ballot. Continue to advance through the ballot. This is our write-in screen. It comes with a keypad. If you are using an ADA type of device, it would just kind of scroll through those different numbers where you'd, or not numbers, but letters, and then you just select the letter and spell out the name that you want. Go ahead and accept. If you happen to undervote, additional choices available. Additional votes are available in the contest listed below. Borough Council, you can continue or return to the ballot to make more selections. So we can either continue or return. We'll return, select two more. Once you're done with that, making your selections, you're presented a review screen. On that review screen, you are allowed to just touch the contest and then make a different selection if you'd like, or you can just continue on. Last step of the process is to print your activation card. And then that's when it will present you a card like this with all your contests printed out, as well as an alternate language, and then your selections. From here, then you would take that over to the DS200 or DS300, whatever happens to be in your precinct, and scan the card. So there is no tabulation going on over here with the express vote. We have presented different models here in Pennsylvania that have a tabulator type of express vote, but not in 6500. It is only going to be a marker mode. We'll do the same thing on the express vote. The screens are going to be the same. First is the language selection, instructions. Then you can advance through the ballot and make your selections. This is the review screen. Again, on the review screen, you can make any changes that you would like. You advance through the review screen. Print your card. Internal battery wise, we can get about 4.5 to 5 hours on the express vote battery of continual use. So once that's printed, again, you'll have a printout of all your selections that you made. And then you would take it over to the DS200 or the DS300 and insert the card. Again, this is what tabulates it. This is what's marking it. On the DS200, DS300, these are our precinct scanners. This is your emergency bin. This would be just where all the ballots fold, or once they're scanned, they drop into. All touchscreen, USB based. This is our undervote screen. You have made too few selections in 6 contests. To correct your ballot, press return and see a poll worker for help. To cast your ballot with errors, press cast. We'll go ahead and cast. This is going to be an overvote. Both the DS200, actually all of our tabulators, the ballot orientation does not matter. You can go head first, bottom first, back first. Overvoted contest, you have made too many selections in 3 contests. To correct your ballot, press return and see a poll worker for help. To cast your ballot with errors, press cast. Warning, if you cast your ballot as is, some of your votes won't be counted. So we'll hit cast. That was just your normal vote. And then this is going to be a blank ballot. Blank ballot. You have made no selections on this ballot. To correct your ballot, press return and see a poll worker for help. To cast your ballot without any selections, press cast blank ballot. We'll go ahead and cast. And then right here is our public counter that incremented after every ballot that we inserted. And then here, if you have multiple languages, all these languages will show up at the bottom where you can continue in Spanish or Chinese. So we're going to do the same on the 300. This is going to be your regular voted ballot, no conditions. Oh, I lied. Undervote. You have made too few selections in 6 contests. To correct your ballot, press return and see a poll worker for help. To cast your ballot with errors, press cast. We'll hit cast. This is going to be your overvote ballot. Overvote contest. You have made too many selections in 3 contests. To correct your ballot, press return and see a poll worker for help. To cast your ballot with errors, press cast. Warning, if you cast your ballot as is, some of your votes won't be counted. This is your ballot with no conditions on it. And then here's your blank ballot. At the end of the night, the poll worker will close polls, pressing the button here. torque or then finish turn off. Take the USB, and then that's what would be transported to the election central for tabulation or into our electionware suite. 200 is going to be the same. We'll let that print and then we'll shut down. The ExpressVote XL, this combines both of these, the ExpressVote as well as the DS200. It's a marker as well as a tabulator. Similar process. The voter is provided an activation card. Then they would take it over to the ExpressVote XL. And then they're presented the language screen and instructions. We do have a keypad that they could use, as well as any type of sip and puff, rocker paddles, etc. that they want to bring to the precinct. Here's your instruction screen, and then you're presented the full face ballot. Go ahead and make your selections. Similar to ExpressVote, if you do an overvote, you've already made the maximum number of selections allowed for this contest. To make a new selection, first deselect one of your current choices. To return to voting, touch Return to Ballot. So we'll return to ballot. Continue to make our selections. This is going to be our write-in screen. If you happen to undervote, additional choices available. Additional votes are available in the contest listed below. Superior court retention. You can continue or return the ballot to make more selections. We'll return to ballot. Make a selection. This is your review screen, similar to the ExpressVote. At this point, you can go back and make a change. Let's say the president and vice president, and we wanted Thomas Miller instead. Once you're satisfied with your selections, we print and review. Print and review. To make changes after printing, you will need help. To print your card, touch Print. To return to voting, touch Return to Voting. Once the card is printed, you're not able to make any more changes, but you are able to review. So the card's going to park here in this window. And then we have the side-by-side comparison. So if you'd like to go back to the review screen, it'll show that all your selections and make sure that it's printed right. Once you're satisfied, you can cast your ballot. Cast votes. To cast your votes printed on your card, touch Cast. To return to reviewing, touch Return to Review. We'll cast. And then that's when the card's deposited into the secure bin. To close polls, enter a passcode. Results tape is printed. You go ahead and shut it down, and then take that USB again over to electionware for results aggregation. That concludes the demo. Unless anybody has any types of questions, I'm happy to help or happy to answer any of those types of questions. right, thank you.